And welcome everybody to Our Android Week. This is Our Android Week with Alan Furstenberg in Connecticut, I think. Bruce Turner in Lynchburg, Virginia. Duke Carrico in Kingsport, Tennessee. Michael Banks in Augusta, Georgia. Nate Swanner in Portland, Oregon. This is Our Android Week. And we have a full cast this evening. It's been a while, but great to have you with us. Michael Banks, welcome back, sir.
Thank you.
And we have, let's see here, we have Alan via phone. And
Evening, Dan.
And what?
I said good evening, Dan.
It is a good evening. It's cold outside, though. Okay, so absolutely. All right, so our first topic is basically a quick rundown. Most of our viewers know a lot of this stuff, but Nate, you wrote a synopsis of it. You were covering it in depth. I think you said you did like a dozen posts or something during the event when they announced Kitkat and the new Nexus 5. So let's begin with a general rundown of your take on those announcements.
Yeah, they definitely kept me busy, at least for one day. I probably did about 15 articles that day. The good part was they launched 4.4 and Nexus 5 as we expected. They launched it kind of quietly, which caught everybody off guard. We were expecting some sort of event. That didn't really happen. I was kind of wondering if they would do a soft launch just because, you know, as a media entity, we hadn't heard anything. We hadn't got an invite. And we usually get those about 10 days in advance. We hadn't heard anything. We hadn't received anything. So we were kind of wondering if maybe they would do this. It wasn't likely because or I should say we didn't think so because it's kind of a flagship device, but they decided to soft launch it and just kind of do a blog post, kind of like they did last year, but last year they were kind of forced to because of the hurricane. But yeah, you know, in all respects, it went about as good as you could hope for. I mean, it launched on the Play Store. It sold out relatively quickly, but not like last year where it was a gigantic debacle. And you had a lot of their partners like HTC and Motorola announcing the same day that they would be. Oh, hold on.
What an epic fail there.
Alan didn't want to talk.
Can someone go ahead? Keep going, Nate. I'll try to type it in on the laptop while you're talking.
HTC and Motorola announcing that they would update their phones to Android 4.4. HTC, I wrote an article today. HTC is kind of waffling. They said they're going to get it within 90 days, and they announced today they do it for Europe. Who cares? You know, their bread and butter is the U.S. market, so I don't know. I'm still hoping we'll get it within 90 days for the one, but who knows with HTC? They have a poor history of that. Android 4.4 is pretty interesting. It's slimmed down a lot. It kind of took all the components out, and it's basically meant to run on a variety of devices rather than keep bulking up. And it was getting to the point where, you know, Android phones just had to keep bulking up and getting more spec'd out to run Android. And with KitKat, that's hopefully going away a lot. And they're just kind of taking the components, breaking them all apart, and it'll run on they say as little as 512 megabytes of memory, which is pretty huge considering we were getting to the point where we needed 2 gigs of RAM to make it happen. So that's pretty huge. Android, the 4.4 is also a completely new design. A lot of people think it's a lot like iOS 7. I don't know about that. I haven't really played with it much yet. But they released a video that's pretty cool, pretty in depth. Explains if you're a geek like me and you enjoy design theory, then that would definitely be something you want to check out. And maybe that's something that's going to touch everybody. Is Hangouts is changing, and Hangouts is including SMS, which is going to be pretty interesting, I think.
All right. Well, let's go to I guess Bruce, and then down the line. Any thoughts on this? And then Nate, if you could do me a favor, I'm having an issue. Could you dial him again? And to our viewers, I apologize. You're going to hear a ringing phone while Bruce is talking. So go ahead, Bruce.
I have this ringing in my ears. I don't know what it is, but it happens when you get old, I suppose. No, I'm really interested in this. In fact, I was going to ask you, Nate. I mean, would it not have been anticlimactic for them to do anything other than a soft launch, considering all the clamor that there was and the rumors? I mean, it got to be annoying after a while. So, I mean, you know, was there a need to do anything big in that regard?
Oh, you're absolutely right on that. If they had done, the only way to get around that would be do something massive like Samsung does with like, plays and dancing girls. And had they done that, I would have absolutely annihilated them for it. So.
Yeah, but if they had done something like Samsung, they would have looked stupid. Like, Samsung looks stupid.
Maybe they could have done it in the middle of the YouTube Music Awards, and the 80,000 people watching could have learned. I'm just kidding. I'm trolling now.
Well, let me ask you.
I'm actually a little bit surprised that they didn't do something. Even if they didn't do an event, it would have been great if they had, just people show up in a bunch of offices with Kitkat bars and saying, "Hey, we're happy Halloween. Here's a treat for you." Tying it into the candy and the Halloween would have been a great idea, and just nothing too fancy but cute. And they dropped it.
That's true. They should have done something. Even a live stream would have been great. Unless the power went out.
Yes. So Nate, I wanted to ask you a question though, because also along with the advent of the Nexus 5 and Kitkat, there were these stories about people who had, from Fandroid and Droid Life, a couple other places where they had actually gotten some of the apps off of Kitkat 4.4, and you could download them and sideload these APKs. I was afraid to do that. What have you heard about that? How successful has that experience been for people maybe that who tried that?
Credit to them for doing that kind of thing. Credit to people who do that because they kind of break the mold. I believe it was Droid Life, might have been Fandroid, listed this kind of weird workaround you had to do to get it to work. You had to like select a different language, turn the phone off and on, up, down, left, right, A, B, start, that whole kind of thing. So credit to them, first of all. I have a friend who uses a Note 2. He got it to work on his Note 2. The launcher, I should say, and he said it was buttery smooth. He loved it. He said this is light years better than what he's using now. So it works, from what I understand. I've known two people that use it. They both said it was fine. So it works.
Cool.
Okay, Duke or Michael?
Go ahead, Michael. You haven't been here in a while. Speak up, my friend.
I mean, it's mostly already all been said. Like, having the legacy support for like more devices was definitely a benefit to try to cut down on the big fragmentation debacle. But
Whoa. What did you just say, Michael?
what part?
Legacy support? Is that what I heard you say?
Well, in a rollout, usually when they roll out a new version, I mean, it is it's taking up. Older devices, more older devices than previous OS releases.
Really?
According to the release.
Well, I mean, I find that a fascinating comment both from them and from you, considering the one device that they've decided to drop like a hot potato with this.
Which is
the Galaxy Nexus.
And is all this coming from the fact that someone has a Galaxy Nexus that's in this hangout?
That is what motivates my surprise. Yes.
Well, look how old the Galaxy Nexus is. I was a Galaxy Nexus owner.
What was that, Michael?
I was a Galaxy Nexus owner. I have the box right here behind me. I mean, look at the OSs that came out before that had even less traction than back. How old is the Galaxy Nexus? Like freaking, what, 3 years old?
You could buy a Galaxy Nexus about a year ago. Up until the Nexus 4 was released 1 year ago, the Galaxy Nexus was the device on sale.
And it is not anymore. By 2 years, what? 2 years now? It's two.
I will grant this, but on one hand, them saying, look, we're doing all of these great things. You can, run it on legacy devices, you'll be able to run it on low memory devices, but you won't be able to run it on a Galaxy Nexus.
That's not. I mean, you're able to run it. They're just not supporting it.
No, you're not able to run it on a Galaxy Nexus. Galaxy Nexus is explicitly not supported.
I would wait for the rooting community to have a go at that.
Okay. Okay, so basically you're saying that Google is saying, we're giving up on the Galaxy Nexus, Cyanogen mod, good luck.
I mean, that's been the case for so many Android devices out there.
But here's the thing, Michael. This is a device that Google is saying is meant to run on older devices, and then Google turns around and said, well, we're not going to let you run it on an older device.
Come on. Every company draws a line. Every one of them. Even Apple draws a line on the iPhones.
Yeah, but, okay. If you want to go the Apple route, we'll go the Apple route. And we saw how iOS 7 is supported on a 3-year-old piece of hardware.
Okay, what? Galaxy Nexus is almost 4, right?
What was that?
Galaxy Nexus is almost 4 years, right? And even the iOS devices, they support it, but they carve out features that still don't work on it.
This is true. But, you can still run iOS 7 on an iPhone 4, which is 3 generations old.
Google is making the claim that, look at this device that is so cheap that is like freaking 2-3 versions better than the old one. It is almost ridiculous to get the old version. Why support it when you got to move forward at one point? You have to draw a line.
Michael, I agree, but I'm not sure I would call the Galaxy Nexus ridiculously old.
I would.
It's a device that was sold a year ago. Is a year-old device ridiculously old?
Look how many Android devices come out. They carve out Android devices come out like every 3 weeks.
This is true. Okay, so you're saying that you can still run iOS 7 what I'm saying though on an iPhone 4, which reduces fragmentation.
Google is making the claim that look at this device that is so cheap.
And I'm saying that's a nice wish list.
In 2-3 versions,
maybe it's
better than the old one.
I think it's very easy for people who are
why support it when
pointing out all the fragmentation to go point to the Galaxy Nexus and say, but I'm not sure I would call the Galaxy fragmentation ridiculously old.
I would.
It's a device that was sold a year ago. Is a year-old device ridiculously old?
Android devices come out and the Android, and I don't have no issue about it because the Galaxy Nexus, while
okay, so you're saying that
decent phone has been outdated.
How outdated is this? I mean, let's face it. The reason why it was probably dropped is because one chip in it is no longer manufactured.
More than that, look how many different variants of the Galaxy Nexus there were.
We can say the Verizon's at fault here, but okay, fine, Verizon's at fault, but that's not the issue. The Verizon version hasn't gotten an update to 4.3 yet either.
Another issue entirely. Another reason to drop support. It's only $349.
Yeah, but like I said, that's $349 more than what I need to pay to continue use of a Galaxy Nexus.
And those that make that case do not need the update that bad.
No, it doesn't. It basically says if I had bought a Galaxy Nexus a year ago, and if I had bought it on contract, I'd still be paying for that contract.
You would have bought the Nexus 4 a year ago. No one would make the case to buy the Galaxy Nexus a year ago.
No, the 4 actually came out, I looked it up, I believe it came out November 17th. So a year ago, I would have been buying a Galaxy Nexus.
We still agree to disagree.
We all agree.
We're going to disagree, and that's fine. And I'm not even saying that that you can't draw the line somewhere. What I'm kind of questioning is why this particular line drawn in this particular place.
That no one in this hangout has the answer to, and all I was saying, my original statement, that this OS supports more devices backwards wise than other previous OS rollouts. That's all I said.
And what I'm saying is, if they have a very, very tough case to make, if on one hand they're saying this is going to be compatible backwards with a wide range of phones, and yet one of their previous, their flagship phone from just 2 phones ago isn't one of those supported. I'm just saying that's not making their case very well.
I'm upset with with some of the stuff that isn't going to work on the Nexus 7, the original Nexus 7.
Like
the photo thing. Is that temporary?
the photo thing? What photo thing?
Yeah, well, this is another subject, but Auto Awesome Movies is not currently supported on the Nexus 7 2012 model. The impression I get is they've gotten a lot of feedback about that, and we will see what transpires.
That sounds software. I think that'll be a short fix. Guessing, speculating.
Okay, so let's.
Yeah, well, we know, however, that the Galaxy Nexus is not going to be supported for that. However.
Okay, speaking of the Galaxy Nexus, let's speak of the Galaxy Nexus.
Oh gosh.
Nate, you posted a shootout between the Nexus 5 and the iPhone 5S.
Mm-hmm.
And then in our pre-show, there was some disagreement, or some other stories came out since you posted that we talked about. So tell me, what is your opinion on the? Because that, like, Craig Shipp is a big iOS fan, all things Apple, and he's on our Google Plus Week show, which is on Friday night. And he was actually looking at the HTC One. He put one in his hand and played with it, and he said, the hardware's just not there. And that was like a flagship Android phone. So tell us, for folks weighing an iPhone, new iPhone, or a Nexus 5. Of course, the Nexus 5 is a lot cheaper, but tell us what the results of your test were.
Well, I found this test. This guy posted a video on YouTube. It was pretty interesting, and I think what was interesting to me was not so much that, he basically did real-world performance test, and what he found was that essentially these phones were on par with one another. I mean, the iPhone 5S loaded a web page or two, a split second quicker. It did the same thing with apps. And part of that's because the single core score, when he did benchmarks, it was so much higher than the Nexus 5. And part of that is because the iPhone 5S is all proprietary stuff. So I just found it interesting that we sit here as Android fans. We worry so much about dual core and quad core and all this stuff, and the reality of it is these OEMs are just not making good use of the hardware that they have. There's this spec race to get a Snapdragon 800 2-point-whatever gigahertz versus a 1.2 gigahertz dual-core A7 processor, and in a lot of respects, the dual-core is better because they took advantage of what they had rather than just completely get specced out. And that's kind of a natural problem with Android because you have so much, it's all open source, and everybody's just going to create this race. But I just found it very interesting that these two phones with such different specs were so comparable performance-wise. And I kind of wanted to get Bruce's take coming from an iPhone, in terms of real-world performance. What do you think, Bruce?
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I like the take that you took on the article. I like the fact that you pointed out the fallacy and the weakness of some people who always just want to argue specs all the time. It's kind of interesting when I look at that video, when I look at the shot on the document right now. Dan used the phrase flagship phone. What crossed through my mind as soon as he said flagship, I'm thinking ship, okay? And then I'm looking at these phones, and the iPhone 5S, if you've ever been a bass fisherman, the iPhone 5S is like a Gnu, okay? That's a hybrid of a canoe and a boat. And the Nexus 5 is like a Ranger bass boat, But yeah, I agree. It's all about the user experience. For the same reason, a lot of people like the Motorola X. Didn't spec out really high, but it had a really nice user experience. And then after the user experience, then people start talking about camera quality and this sort of thing. I think, it's different strokes for different folks. I've been very happy with the choice that I made for a phone. And even though I've seen 2 or 3 other newer phones come out, there's nothing that really makes me want to to move away from what I've got right now, and it would be easy if I were just making that determination on specs.
You know, Craig always says that that Apple's the high end, and that Android's like a race to the bottom price point. Why doesn't someone make? Have we conceded that, or why doesn't someone make a really kick-ass hardware-wise Android phone? I mean, a freaking built like a brick shithouse, high-end, expensive $1,000 phone.
Well, I think in a lot of respects, Dan, what you're saying is that the Nexus 5 is kind of that phone. And, I mean, it's got the top-end processor. It's got, enough RAM to handle whatever. It's got enough memory that can handle whatever. Because, I mean, the iPhone has a lot, it's got like the 64 gigabyte option, but that's because a lot of the people like to load their music onto their device. So, that's all mitigating circumstances. But the Nexus 5 kind of is that phone. And I guess the case in point here is you've got this phone that's got a top-end processor and pretty much top-of-the-line specs, and it's going really, toe-to-toe and finishing at the finish line at the same time as an iPhone 5S, which spec-wise is a lot weaker. And I think Bruce touched on it really well, is the Moto X. The Moto X, and I can speak to this from like an Android blogger point of view, is when it came out, when it was officially announced, we all kind of went, this is stupid, this is ridiculous, why would they do this? And then we start getting it in our hands, and we go, wow, this is amazing. It had nothing to do with the screen, which is not very great. It has nothing to do with the processor, which is not world-beating. But when you look at the Moto X is really the Android answer to the iPhone, because it's all proprietary hardware for that phone. It's the same processor as the Droid, but the point is Motorola is taking kind of an Apple approach to Android and saying, yeah, well, there's Android, and Android's open source, but we're going to do what we want to do and make it the way we want to have it, which is highly contextual, which is why the user experience is so great. But what they've done is taking a very Apple approach and not get into this whole, let's have a Snapdragon 800 and 2 to 4 gigs of RAM and 32 gigabytes of memory. Let's not do that. Let's just make a really nice phone that performs really well in real world circumstances and put that out there. And they have, and it's sublime.
Nate, I'm kind of surprised that you say that the Nexus 5 is the equivalent of the iPhone's 5S. And I part of that is I look at the 5S and I see things like, they're saying we're pushing the envelope when it comes to camera. We're pushing the envelope when it comes to usability. We're pushing the envelope when it comes to trying out new features that we feel people are going to need. To me, I look at the 5S, at the Nexus 5, and I see them pushing a good phone. By all means, it's has some very nice specs to it, but they're not pushing the envelope. And I think instead, Google's chosen a very different route. They're saying our flagship phone, the Nexus line, isn't going to be the groundbreaking phones. We're going to look at Samsung and others do radical and revolutionary things and do those experiments, and we're going to incorporate parts of those experiments into the Nexus line.
I agree with that. I agree with what you're saying. I think that they learned a lot from at least Motorola with the contextual aspect. And you make a good point about the camera. The camera is nowhere near what it should be, and nowhere near an iPhone camera. I guess to your point, the video maybe is a little bit of a microcosm. They're doing some browser performance, they're loading apps and things like that, which is a big part of real-world experience. But you're right. You can't touch the camera on an iPhone, and I don't know why nobody's been able to figure that out. Really have no idea. I'm not that in tune. I don't really understand why. Out of I don't know how many Android manufacturers, nobody's really been able to outdo an iPhone camera. I just don't know.
Guys, real quick, I got a technical glitch here. I'm seeing you in the bottom boxes, but none of your videos in the top boxes. So the audience is seeing a picture of Nate with the circle that expands as he talks.
Yeah,
so,
it's the same thing on YouTube live right now.
Yeah, that's what I see too.
Right, so I'm thinking, is it safe for me just to F5 this Hangout and I'll rejoin Alan?
Well, it should be safe, but before you try that, try adjusting the bandwidth down and then adjusting it back up.
This is so ghetto. Okay. So I go to
You know who to complain to.
Yep, my settings. I go to my settings.
No, the little bar thing when you move your mouse. Up next to mute audio, mute video. I love this. I can't see absolutely anything.
Okay, audio only. And then
I'm seeing the same thing on my end, Dan, for what it's worth.
At any rate, it should be otherwise fine to F5.
all right, so let me go to I'll click on Bruce here. And see if I can see him. Nope. Okay, so F5 is next. I can't even see myself. What an epic
Yeah,
fail.
well,
This is an app. We're sponsored by Google Video Calls. Okay, so should I just F5? That's completely safe, right? I'm not going to lose this hangout, right?
yes, it's completely safe. Just do it already.
Okay, I'm going to do it, and
What's the worst that can happen?
we could have the YouTube Music Awards. All right, so I've just deleted all my friends there, and we're going to see what happens. If you guys want to comment on the YouTube, oh my God, what a train wreck. It was so bad. So let me go to the comments here. They were pushing the envelope as far as the idea of owning the phone outright, says Joshua Hughes. I agree. Slap an expensive case on it. There you go. That's the question, Josh. I'm wondering, is there just no market for an expensive Android phone? Now I'm trying to join the Hangout. And Rich,
I'm seeing everybody.
okay, so everyone's
I'm
there.
seeing
Everybody.
people in the thumbnails, but they don't come in the big video.
Mine's just fine.
Okay, so
Wow.
just to
Like I said, one of the things you can try doing is kind of kicking it kind of kicks the talk plugin if you adjust your bandwidth setting lower and then adjust it higher again.
this is like when Leo,
Sometimes that works.
when his TriCaster
Yeah.
broke in the
Yeah,
middle of a
it's not working
show.
for me.
It worked for me.
There it is. There it is.
Yeah, we're back.
Yeah, that's kind of the rubber mallet approach. When I was working the flight line, when I was in the Navy, you know, a pilot would complain about his TAC hand or his ADF not working. We'd go out there and unclip the, you know, the covers and take a rubber mallet and hit it 2 or 3 times and look up at him. You know, is it working now? And he sheepishly nods his head yes, and we'd snap it back down and let him take off.
Can someone say, I'm not a miracle worker, Captain? Okay, so it looks like we're back, and it looks like, am I muted? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
Welcome back to our ghetto show. Okay, so anyway, the award for Musician of the Year goes to... All right, so we're talking... I don't know what the hell... What are we talking about? Other than glitches.
I don't know. Next subject.
Okay, next subject. And this is... Talk about ghetto. We keep our time codes here, right? So, I keep the time codes, so I've got to type them in because, I don't know, it's a disaster. So it's about 28:45. Amazon does an FAA victory lap. Now what this is the Federal Aviation Administration has determined that after all these years of telling you to shut off your phone or your electronic device because you're going to crash the freaking plane, even though several people are secretly using their devices anyway, hiding from the stewardesses, you're the one who's going to crash the plane. And there's an epic scene in the West Wing about this. Amazon, I just want to note this, they did a 15% off sale for Kindles today. So just so you know, if you're thinking about buying a Kindle Fire HD or HDX, whatever it is, any thoughts on, is there any impact here or your thoughts on the FAA finally doing this and you know, does this matter? I mean, you fly a lot, Bruce. You fly all the time. You're always joining us.
Yeah, I have a thought. I say kudos to Amazon. And why didn't anybody else think about this? You see, this is what makes Amazon who they are. This is what makes them sharp. I'd love to know whether this was a Jeff Bezos idea or somebody else's idea, but to take the opportunity of this decision and to do a 15% discount because of it, to move people into their product was nothing short of smart.
And the free publicity.
Yeah, absolutely. It's genius.
Everybody writes about it.
Yeah.
You know, I think this Bezos guy may have some game
That's,
because of this.
well, this and so many other things that he's done. They're in it for the long haul. I have no worries about Amazon.
How do I get rid of this stupid thing that says my videos? Okay, I got to. This is a train wreck. Who'd we lose?
Michael rage quit.
Okay. All right, so we all agree that Amazon did a good PR move. Studies have shown the best way to receive something is free, and they got a lot of publicity from this. And they probably sold a lot of Kindles.
Sure it is. 15% off. Why not?
Sure. Okay, so good for them. All right, next up is we have some new Android stats. Alan, you study this very closely. You want to tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, but I didn't study it close enough to have the numbers memorized. Anyway, so we know that every month Google publishes the numbers, which amount to which versions of the Android operating system have hit the which have hit the Play Store in a 7-day period leading up to the beginning of the month, and they publish those numbers. And we've got some. I hope you're bringing the numbers up on the screen instead of watching me, which isn't very interesting right now. But the pie chart that comes up this month indicates that Froyo is at something like 1 or 2%, and is outclassed by Jelly Bean 4.3, which is at something like 2.5%, which is doubling what it was last month.
Nate,
So,
why don't you go
clearly-
over? Nate, why don't you go over the numbers real quick, and Alan can listen. Because I've got this on the screen now, and Alan's driving a vehicle, and obviously,
Sure. Yeah, Honeycomb still hangs on somehow with 0.1%. Froyo has 1.7%. Like Alan said, Jelly Bean 4.3 has 2.3%. That leads us into 4.2 at 12.5%. Ice Cream Sandwich 19.8. Gingerbread 26.3. And Jelly Bean 4.1 37.3%.
So I think some of the cool news here is that Jelly Bean as a whole is over 50%, which is great. It means that, we're almost bringing things into alignment. Once again, though, I will point out that 4.3 means Nexus devices, and not even all the Nexus devices now. But it means the Nexus line essentially, and they've got a penetration rate of 2%, a whopping 2%, which is peddling.
Well, yeah, it is Bidley. It's 2% of a billion, so that's not, for you and I, that's pretty big. But yeah, overall, that's pretty pathetic numbers.
Yeah, we're going to see that jump quite considerably by the end of November as AT&T and Verizon and some of these others start rolling out 4.3. It's going to take the place of those 4.1 crowd, of which I'm a part right now.
Hey, Alan,
Right, but at the same time, we're going to see the 4.4 numbers start to increase, but it's never going to get above 2% or so.
Alan, let me ask you a question. Just looking at like Gingerbread, for instance, all of Gingerbread was 2.3. The third number obviously changed several times. Ice Cream Sandwich was all 4.0. Jelly Bean is 4.1, 4.2, and then 4.3. I feel like that was maybe all kind of a marketing gimmick to get to 4.4 so we could do Kitkat.
I'm not so much sure if they were aiming it in that exact way. I think it was more that there are some dramatic changes between 4.1, 2, and 3. But I think they more or less kept it under the same Jelly Bean name, because they were really trying to convince manufacturers, hey, this is an easy upgrade. It's going to be easy to push out 4.2 if you're supporting 4.1 now. So I think that was part of their drive. Part also is that the API changes under the hood. There are API changes, but they are slight. You would not normally target most of those changes. But I think really just the motivating behind it was for them to say, hey, if you've got a 4.0 device, you can bring it to 4.1 and then 4.2 and then 4.3. It's not a big deal. It's, an easy progression. And I think it's obvious to me, anyway, that 4.4 should not have been numbered 4.4. It should have been numbered 5.0, and the only reason why they went with 4.4 was for the marketing, which they then flubbed up.
Right, I kind of agree with that. I feel like 4.4 was all marketing.
Yeah, and especially since, never mind, I'm not going to go back to my Galaxy Nexus gripe, but insert my Galaxy Nexus gripe here.
Well, I think it's a fair gripe, honestly. So.
Okay, so anybody else want to weigh in on this? Okay. Unanimity. Yet again. All right, so...
we all agree Alan's right. Keep going, Dan.
Absolutely. Okay, so next up is there was a... Well, okay, the Android 4.4 Kitkat review. This is from The Verge. Nilay Patel got his Nexus 5 today, and so I look for lots of stuff from him in the next couple days. What should it's very few people have it. Very few people are going to have it in the short term. I don't even have it on my Nexus 7, which is kind of a bummer. But thoughts? I mean,
well, we won't be
you didn't think you
getting
were going to get it now, did you?
Huh?
You didn't think you were going to get it now, did you?
Isn't that why they sold the Nexus 7? I mean, they said, or that's why they pushed it. That's how they sold it. You'll get the newest Android automatically to your Nexus device. Buy it, So I bought it, and here I am with 4.3, and no.
Well, yeah, they always push the device out first, and then they push out the update later. I mean, if an update comes out with a device, the device is always going to ship first, and they're going to let people with the new device get it, have it for a week or two, and then they'll start pushing it to older devices.
I'll predict that you and I will have it on our Nexus 7s before December, Dan.
I hope so. I don't want to have to get a Kindle Fire for 15% off. All right, so this is kind of an extension topic, I guess. Not really a topic. Bruce or anybody else?
Yeah, but let me ask you this. I'm kind of curious by one of the comments in this article on the Verge. What exactly does he mean, Nate, when he says still distinctively Android, but finally less robotic? Define less robotic or robotic in regards to Android Jelly Bean 4.3 or 4.2. What's he talking about?
Well, I think what he's talking about is if you look at Kitkat, if you look at things like obviously that like when you go to your apps, the background is translucent, or it's translucent now. You can see your wallpaper. The icons themselves are a little softer. I think that's what he was talking about. It's not so squared off, beat you over the head with kind of this dark, overpowering design. It's a little softer aesthetically. I think that's what he was getting at.
Is this the pastel flat look of the iOS 7?
Yes, this is the Matthias Duarte that we're talking.
Okay.
Unlike Alan, it's softer aesthetically.
I'm just going to add the Tech and Coffee community that Bruce and I frequent. Keith Milner from the UK, he got his Nexus 5 today, and he was giving us just a brief rundown. Listen, he was he seemed to be very impressed with 4.4. He did knock the camera, however.
Okay. Well, are we back to our thumbnails? Oh my God. This show's just a throwaway episode, I think. Okay, so just kidding. All right. So we all agree on that. Next up, this was just kind of a neat story, or oh no, before the neat story, or neat app. Comcast rebrands the Xfinity player as Xfinity to Go and adds live streaming. I looked at this because I'm a Comcast customer, and I find I use the CNN app a lot because when all hell's breaking loose somewhere, CNN's a pretty middle of the road go to place, and they actually have news as opposed to just talking heads. And I don't really use the Xfinity app that much, but apparently you can live stream now, but only over Wi-Fi. And so, Nate, why don't you tell us about this and also get to the larger issue of cable finally coming around to address the cord cutter threat by trying to make their content available in as many places as possible. Not that will, in the long term, address the cord cutting threat, but at least they're kind of meeting it halfway and saying we'll be more flexible.
Yeah, I think this we saw this a couple weeks ago with AT&T and their Uverse. The difference here is obviously that Comcast has a much better reach than AT&T and their Uverse. The app itself, I haven't really messed with it much. I didn't have time. Everybody that I've talked to though said that it's not great. There's still some issues that they need to work out. You have to kind of switch back to portrait to change the channel, then go to landscape to view it. So stuff like that's kind of odd, but it does kind of signal that at least they understand that there is another way to reach customers rather than people sitting in front of their televisions. Now, as far as live TV, some people are reporting that the kind of streaming of it is suspect at best. I don't really know what to attribute that to. Android Police said they had a really good signal, and it was still skippy and jerky and crappy. So who knows? But you're right, Dan. It does signify that at least these cable companies or providers are starting to understand that we're not going to sit there in front of our living room all the time, but they still want to reach us. And this is a really good way for them to do that. And it's smart that Comcast did this.
Bruce, how much television do you watch, and how? Like DVR?
I
live?
watch some episodes or seasons of shows that I, had kind of fallen behind on Netflix. Sometimes I watch them on the CBS.com, for instance. My wife and I missed a couple of episodes of NCIS. Often when I'm traveling, I just enjoy using my Sling player. We've got Dish TV here. The level of Dish TV that we have, though, does not allow me to watch it online the way you can with Comcast. I mean, Dish TV has a similar setup. But with my Sling player, I have no problems whatsoever, and it works quite fine. I've watched television on 3G, 4G networks, and LTE networks. So I've been a Sling player user since the very first unit came out. In fact, my very first unit is still in service at my sister-in-law's house. So,
Okay, Duke, how much TV do you watch?
I don't watch much live TV. I do watch some live sports. Most of what I watch is going to be through Netflix or some sort of a stored, I don't watch live TV. So I'd say probably 10, 12 hours a week tops for me. And I do have cable. It's a waste. I'm thinking about cutting the cord because there's so many options out there, and that's about where I'm at right now.
Okay, Alan?
I can't remember the last time I watched live TV. I also can't remember the last time I wanted to.
All right, so obviously a couch potato there. Okay, that's why he's tall and skinny. All right. Okay, so next up is this at 44:30. Next up is this interesting app I saw Nate write about, and this is Garagio.
Garagio.
Tell us what Garagio is. This is kind of smart.
Garagio is pretty
the
interesting.
larger aspect here is how many more things like this are we going to see replacing conventional products, and sort of the phone as your everything. I mean, unlocking your car, or what have you.
Right. Garagio, it takes a really interesting. To me, it was really interesting. Garagio is basically a kind of a box and a sensor that sits in your garage, and you can open your garage via an app on your phone. It works with Android. It works with iOS. The interesting part to me was, we have all these, smart locks and smart lights and, dishwashers that do this and whatever. Nobody really ever thought, to me, nobody really thought about the garage. And this is pretty interesting in that respect because, a lot of people don't really use their front door. They go and they park their car in the garage and then they go in that way. So it's really kind of an easy fix in that respect. You can open your garage with an app. You can actually let up to 10 people, access to your house. So if you don't have to worry about who's got a remote or buying extra remotes for, if you have kids or, you have people staying over or something. Or, if you're away and you've got somebody that's going to come work on your house or something, you can, tell them to download the app, give them access, and then you can remove the access whenever you want for anybody. So it allows you to management. You can also open the garage from anywhere. So if you didn't want to give somebody access, but you needed to let them into your house for some reason, you can just say, send me a text or a message when you get there. I'll open the garage. You can go in through that, whatever.
Well, how does Nate? How does it work? I mean, does it? You have to.
Well, it links into your
through
home
Wi-Fi or
network.
Bluetooth, or you just do it and there's a receiver connected to your
Well,
Wi-Fi?
it links into your home Wi-Fi network. In terms of how you open it remotely, I'm not exactly sure about that. The website was kind of light on details about that. I know that there's I know that there's like a website you're gonna have to go to manage your let's say Garagio account. But to me, the interesting part, the great part about this was it's $150. And you can manage up to 3 garage doors. So if you've got like a split garage or something, you can open one, not the other, blah, blah, blah. So it's just really interesting. It's $150. And like I said in my article, I think that this could become like the Roku of home automation. I think that this
So Nate, one question. That's $150. Is that a flat fee, or is there also a monthly service to keep access to your garage through this?
No, there's no maintenance fee or anything at all. You pay the $150, you hook it up, and you don't need to hardwire it into anything. You just kind of, there's a sensor that goes on the garage door, and then there's another black box that sits there, which obviously handles the signal. But no, it's just a one-time fee of $150 for the equipment, and after that, you're good to go.
Yeah, this is going to become the granite countertop feature of tech in a house. I can see it in a real estate advertisement. We have Garagio and stainless steel appliances. But seriously, if you've ever gone out and had to buy replacement garage door openers, they're not cheap. And then there's this matter of programming them, which is kind of convoluted and analog and archaic. So this is very interesting to me.
Well, think about it, Bruce. You could, you and your wife could obviously have the app on your phones, and the good part is it doesn't matter what phone you have. And then if, like, I don't know, you had friends coming over and you said, hey, we're going to be here at whatever time. Well, you and your wife are going to be gone. Well, just park in the garage. Here's the app, or I'll let you in, or whatever. I mean, it's sublime, really. And for $150, it's for homeowners.
Here's actually here's the real thing, Nate, is that you then take it one step further and you tie the Garagio to location services, so that as your car pulls into the driveway, it'll just open up. Right. You don't need to do anything to your app.
Right. So, like, as soon as your home Wi-Fi detects your device, yeah, it could open up or whatever. That would be awesome.
That's a developer thinking for you.
If then that, I can see it now.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we're all gonna. I'd have to get a garage first, but that's not included, right?
No.
Okay, just checking. I just want to make sure. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of a low-tech name when you consider there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vowels in the name. I thought that was kind of the new style was no vowels. So.
Bruce, you kind of freak me out sometimes.
I know.
Okay, so next up at 4920 is BlackBerry avoids buyout from Fairfax and fires their CEO. So
is it really avoids if they essentially say that the offer sucked they fire the CEO, and then they hire the people that were going to, that decided not to buy them out. They hired that CEO to go on the selection committee to find the new CEO. Is that really, turning down an offer, or is that just, utter confusion?
Nate, defend yourself.
Well, to be quite honest with you, Alan, you're asking if anything BlackBerry is utter confusion. I'm going to assume that's rhetorical.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what happened. I mean, when Fairfax made their offer, and Fairfax was a shareholder at BlackBerry. Fairfax made the offer for $4.7 billion to buy them out. That was contingent on two things. One of them was Fairfax being able to secure financing for this, and the other was that BlackBerry had a go shop option, which meant that they could continue to let other companies approach them about buyout, things like that. Recently, we've heard about Lenovo was approaching them. If I had to venture a guess, I would say that it was more Fairfax not being able to secure $4.7 billion in financing for this company. And I think that maybe their talks led them to believe that they could go it alone or continue down whatever path they're going to walk. I think that the extreme amount of downloads for BlackBerry Messenger probably gave them a little false confidence in this whole thing. But yeah, they fired Thorsten Heinz, which is, if you've read the Globe and Mail's kind of report on what happened with BlackBerry on the top levels, which is in the article, I linked to it in the article because it's that good and it's that insightful. They've been a mess since the iPhone, and Thorsten Heinz was kind of a thorn in a lot of people's side. So it's interesting to see him go, but it's probably time. He's kind of been a thorn in BlackBerry's ass for quite some time.
Why did they originally?
And he's
hire
leaving
him?
with a $22 million parachute, so don't feel bad for him.
Yeah, so there's no sympathy for him. But Nate, they had this crazy dual CEO thing initially.
Yeah, I think it was the two co-founders who were doing this dual CEO thing, and that's where it kind of started when the iPhone came out. The one CEO wanted to go like to like the phones we enjoy now, which are all touch screen and everything else, and the other CEO said no, we're going to stay the course, and it caused a big rift. And in a time when they needed to be very nimble and switch it up and do new things or make a decision, period, they didn't, and they sat on their hands for way too long, and the world ran away from them.
But why did they go? Do we know why they went with this guy? Because they had the co-CEOs, and then they went with him. And if he hasn't worked out, I mean, was there?
Well, I don't know if the Daily Mail, I don't know if the Globe and Mail got into that, but my understanding was that he aligned more with the guy who wanted touchscreen devices, and I think that there were a significant amount of board members that felt the same way, just because they were seeing Android devices do that too, and obviously the iPhone, initially. So I think it was just a matter of he had more support from the board, and the board was split too. The board, had their kind of people that wanted to do the same old BlackBerry thing, and people that wanted to do the brand new touchscreen thing. So I think he just had more support, and that's why he ended up with the job. Why he ended up keeping it, I can't tell you.
Do you have any predictions on what they're going to end up doing?
I felt like after a couple years of inactivity, he should have been gone.
Do you have any predictions on what they're going to end up doing? Are they going to come out with the logical step would be to make Android devices?
I think what you're going to see, what this tells me, as someone who's just kind of watching the situation, what I'm seeing is that there's some kind of false pride here, and I don't really understand it. I thought the buyout was a good option. Take the buyout, go enterprise. I'm not exactly sure what they think they're going to do. If they were smart, they would probably try to partner do some Android devices, or, I don't know, maybe be the next Nokia for Windows Phone. At least that's something for them.
Because they've certainly got a good reputation.
I think what you're going to see is in a couple years, I think you're just going to see a fire sale. I think they're just going to have to sell themselves off piecemeal, and that'll be the end of it.
Their hardware was top notch.
Their hardware still is really, really good.
But if they maybe it's just pride getting in the way of common sense.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know. Maybe it was the Fairfax. I mean, and Fairfax is leading a conglomerate that's putting like $1 billion into BlackBerry. So, I mean, they're going to come back with some sort of fight and some sort of funding. But, I mean, at the end of the day, what's left and who cares? And I think those are the big questions they need to really answer themselves.
It's bandages. This is interesting to watch. Is the drama at J.C. Penney when they hired Ron Johnson, who was the superstar who ran all the Apple stores, and then J.C. Penney hired him to run the retail store, and he came up with dramatically new concepts that I supported and thought were great, instead of marking up to mark down and all that crap. But apparently everyone likes that, and so they got
Yep.
rid of him, and I don't know what they're going to do now. But their stock is,
They're going to squander $1 billion is all they're going to do.
And I agree with you wholeheartedly there, Duke. I think it's just going to be $1 billion that they're going to do. I don't know what with, but I don't think it really matters anymore. And I think that that's what they really need to come to. They need to come to terms with that. Is that, you had 10 million downloads of BlackBerry, and I can guarantee you a whole lot of that was morbid curiosity. I don't think a lot of people were clamoring for BlackBerry. I don't think anybody was really excited to have BlackBerry Messenger back. I think it was just morbid curiosity. The same reason we all covered the Z10 when it came out and BlackBerry 10. It was morbid curiosity more than anything else. And I think there's just some false pride there. And I think that they really need to check themselves and say, you know what, it's time to go. We're so far behind, we're not even going to be able to take third. So let's just leave it at that.
Who else wants to weigh in on this?
RIM and Palm are just, I just can't, Palm was the same way. They just, for some reason or another, they didn't think they needed to innovate with the OS. And I've watched RIM do the same thing. It's just, and when they finally decided, it was just too late,
Duke, your internet may be the worst I've ever seen. It's like 120 pixels. It's bad.
Yeah, I don't know what's up, man.
Is there like a football team watching Netflix simultaneously on different devices on your Wi-Fi or something?
It's the worst I've ever seen it, Dan, and I've normally got great internet. I don't know what's going on.
Hey, you've had some pretty bad
I like
streaming.
8-bit video games, so I'm a fan.
Any other thoughts on this before we move? Okay. So next up is this is kind of a long topic, and then we're going to get to the fun topic, the Google Barge, before we get to our recommended apps. But let's talk
Oh, you're
about.
kidding me.
Yeah, let's talk about this crazy Rockstar consortium. I guess it's what is it? Nokia, Microsoft, Apple, Sony,
BlackBerry.
They're suing Android, or they're suing, I guess, Google and HTC and others over these patents. So the first question is, Nate, you wrote the article. So the first question is the lawsuit legit? Do they have a claim?
Oh, they have a claim.
Okay,
They
so that's
absolutely have a
A.
claim.
And B, what is the impact of this? Potential impact for Google and for Android. That's another article we linked to here. And then C, are you surprised that Sony's involved in this? Because they've been very active on the What's Hot list on Google Plus with their Xperia phones and pushing Android hard. And isn't this this surprised me very much that they were involved in this. So go ahead in whatever order you want to hit that, Nate.
Well, I think we should be surprised that Samsung's involved in this also. But at the same time, you hear about lawsuits all the time, Samsung and Apple suing each other over design, And to be quite honest with you, it's all interesting, but it's all a lot of nonsense. This one is Rockstar is a company that's owned by like Applesoft, Microsoft, BlackBerry, and what it is, it's old Nortel patents. When Nortel went belly up, Google actually tried to buy the patents. Google's initial offer for these Nortel patents was like $900 million. That ballooned up where it's somewhere to like $4 or $5 billion through negotiation, and then Google either lost out or lost interest, and they turned around and bought Motorola. And remember, at the time, the Motorola thing was pretty quick, and everybody thought it was really a big patent grab, and this was part of it. People thought that Google was trying to do something to shore up some patent agreements or to give themselves a better patent portfolio to defend themselves, and this is part of that. The thing that's interesting about this one is this is not, Google, it's a design on their website or something or whatever. This has a lot to do with Google's very core business. When you look at like their earnings report, a whole lot of what they make is off of search. duh, you know that. But this has to do with, and the way I explained it is, if you go and you search for pocket knives on Google, you say, well, tell me about pocket knives. You go search for pocket knives, it's going to give you results, little Google ads, all the rest of it. And then let's say you go to a website, you go to, I don't know, The Verge or, Android Community or something. And you see a little square ad up there that says, pocket knives on Amazon or whatever. What it's done is it's learned what you search for and then related that to the ads that are present there, which is via AdSense and things like that. And that is how Google makes a bulk of their revenue. And this is exactly what this lawsuit is about. And that's why it's so important. It's nothing that's gonna, you're not gonna see any pretty pictures of Apple phones and Samsung phones. But this attacks Google right at the bottom line, and that's where it gets really, really important.
And I think one of the things to understand and to realize is that many of these patents predate the existence of Google altogether. So
Right.
It's not even like Google can try to lay prior claim by themselves. They've got to rely on others or other prior claim, other prior art.
Right. And I can't even say that
to
this
save themselves.
and I can't even say that this will fall under some sort of FRAND licensing thing either, Alan. I don't know how that's going to work out with this, if that's an avenue that they choose to pursue. But yeah, you're right. This does predate everything that Google has done, and it becomes very, very, very critical for them at this point.
And some articles define this as a nuclear patent attack.
This is literally everybody that you have had any kind of quarrel or squabble with pointing their guns at you, and I think that's fair. It's nuclear.
Yeah. One of the articles I saw had an interesting picture of this rock star engineer, and of course the story elaborates on is how that they have a team of engineers who immediately start taking apart all of these various devices from HTC or LG or Samsung or whatever, looking for patent infringements. This is pretty much the way this is done now?
I can't speak to that. Alan, do you know anything about that?
I don't really think that's all that necessary. I mean, most of these patents, let's be honest, most of these patents are software patents. They are concept patents. They are look and feel type patents. I'm sure there are some technical algorithmic patents that are in there, but my guess is they are few and far between. These are broad-based concept patents, and I think that's actually going to speak to some of how Google is going to challenge them, is by saying that the patent itself was too broad a patent and is not patentable. And that's the only thing I can imagine Google is going to try to do on this.
Yeah, something like that, or again, with the Motorola thing, I don't know if there's some sort of Motorola patent we're not aware of that could somehow help them out in this. But on the surface of things, this could be very, very troubling for Google.
Okay, so let me advance this a bit. I'm not an attorney. You're not an attorney, Nate, but there are things you can patent that seem obvious, but you patent them, and you come up with them, and they can become so commonplace like this is. Imagine if no one had bothered to patent the concept of painting lines on a highway in various colors to keep people in their lane so they don't have head-on collisions. You would be unable to do that because a judge would throw that out and say that's ludicrous. At the same time, you could patent something and not enforce the patent for some period of time. And it's not like a trademark where, if you don't use it, you lose it. You could still enforce it later on. And then the court can throw out a patent, as they did with the Oracle lawsuit against Google, where they said that you can't, I don't remember the details, but basically they went after Google and lost. So where do you think this is going to end up? And Google is in the position where they have such a tremendous profit that they could, I'm sure they're not going to throw out, I'm sure they're not going to say Google can't do AdWords anymore, but they may say you have to pay a percentage to this consortium. So there's that
They could
question.
say that.
What do you think the result's going
what
to be?
becomes more kind of a curiosity in that respect is, are they going to be awarded any kind of back damages? These all predate Google, and Google's been doing this for I don't know how long, at least 5 years or so. Are they going to have to pay a percentage of their earnings for the last 5 years to this rockstar company? In terms of not knowing what you can patent or can't patent or whatever, I think it was somebody at Google said previously, if we knew we could patent round corners on a smartphone, we would have done that, because they could have, and they just didn't. So there's all sorts of things that you don't know you can patent because it seems fairly ubiquitous, or not like something that should be patented, and it doesn't get patented. On the other hand, like you said, it could be something so broad that it doesn't warrant a patent. On the other hand, there are things that are patented, and as we see with Samsung doing here and there across the globe, they'll license it to one company for this amount and then the other company for this amount. And they've since come off that attitude a little bit. But that's where Fran comes in terms of regulating the patents in that respect.
Bruce, do me a favor, or I'm sorry, Duke, go ahead and mute your mic when you're not talking, because we are getting an echo from you. Because you're popping up with Nate and we're hearing an echo, so I'm guessing it's coming from Duke. I'm not sure. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting to see, because there's a lot of money at stake. I can't see a judge shutting Google down. I can't see
that's
them
not gonna happen.
awarding some draconian judgment.
No, I don't, that's not going to happen. But the thing is, Google makes $1 billion a week or whatever. If you got to hand a sizable chunk of that over, I mean, where do things like all these free services that we enjoy go? Where do leading into our next story, the Google barges in various oceans across the world, where do they go? What can we still do that? What about Calico? What about self-driving cars? What about all these things? And I'm not being an apologist and saying Google does nothing but good things, but you have to appreciate that things like that, could see trouble ahead, or they could be shuttered altogether.
Yeah, all these companies got number crunchers, right? And so they decided to stop at 4.4 billion with their bid, and so the consortium bought these Nortel patents for 4.5. Don't you think somebody's thinking, okay, so if we lose this, it's going to cost us X number of dollars to fight this. We could get X amount of penalties. What stopped them at 4.4? Why wouldn't they keep going? And if this is as bad as it looks, just go ahead and kill the threat.
Before Nate answers that, let me append that question from Bruce, and because there was speculation today that they really didn't intend on buying it because they knew that the other guys were going to spend whatever the hell it took to get it.
Okay.
And that their goal was to simply push the price up to make it expensive, because they knew they were
So
gonna
it's
get
kind of like
screwed in the
Storage Wars. You watch that show, you have some other bidder just kind of bidding the other guys up.
You watch too much television, Bruce.
It could have been just that, Bruce. I mean, they could have been bidding them up, hoping that they would bow out, and then Google could have said, actually, you know what, we're really not interested for more than 900 million at the end of the day. It could have been as simple as that. Who knows?
So if they get a $2 billion...
Well, here's the other thing.
Go ahead,
Here's the
Alan.
other thing. I've heard some speculation that the high bid price could work against Google, that in court, the Rockstar owners could say, look, Google thought it was worth $4.4 billion, so it must be worth at least that.
Yep.
Right.
Well,
Yeah,
they
I
could
read the
also
same- I
say
read the
that they
same.
were just in a I mean, Google could also say with hopefully a straight face that they doubted these patents from the beginning, but they were interested in the other patents that are unrelated to this lawsuit. I mean, they could get a politician to front their case for them or something. They're all lawyers.
True.
And all you have to do is establish reasonable doubt. But is this going to be a jury trial or a judge, or do we know? I think it was a demand for jury trial.
I
wasn't
would
it?
expect to see this go to a jury, if nothing more than to establish some sort of precedent moving forward.
Do you think they'll have? Hopefully, they'll have a more strenuous jury selection process than that last one, with the Samsung case where the guy, like,
Yeah, the guy that ended up like having a lawsuit or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll be following this, I'm sure, ad nauseum as it progresses, because it's a threat to Google and Android, and we'll see what happens. Any final thoughts on this before we get to the fun topic?
I don't think you need to look any further than Kitkat to find out just how important search is to Google. Everything about Kitkat has to do with search. It all links back to search, and everything Google does links back to search. And if you're attacking that, then Google's got a real problem.
The bottom line is even if it's a legit case, I can't imagine a truly horrific judgment like shutting Google down, or
No, that's not going to happen.
because I mean, let's face it, the judge and his staff in researching the case are going to use Google, right? And they're not going to want it to go away.
Right.
And we had another judge, admit to that in some case, I forget what it was, but okay. So next up, Nate, this freaking barge. All I can think about when you made the allusion to barges popping up on multiple coasts is the movie Independence Day, where the alien invasion spaceships showed up on multiple continents around the world to pounce, right? And so first, I guess it was we heard it was a fancy showroom for glass, and then we heard.
Well, first we heard data center. That was the initial.
Oh, data center was
everybody
first,
thinking
then
data
a
center.
glass showroom, and then
partly because Google has a patent for a floating data center.
Yeah, they better rush out to the patent office. And then we heard that they're not even really going to be on barges. They're just assembling them on barges. Because one guy said they're really ugly. It can't be a showroom. But then someone else said they're glorious and it's a fancy nightclub at the top and blah, blah, blah. And it can be easily disassembled and reassembled anywhere. So they could be in, Portland, Oregon one day and then stick them on trucks and run down the road and be in San Francisco the next day and set up Apple stores type things everywhere. Do we know what the hell this is yet? What speculation do you have? Just so I can play the rerun later to troll you that you were wrong, because we have no freaking clue what
If
this
this is some sort of a showroom for glass, it's got to be, or it's gonna be, one of the ugliest showrooms ever. I mean, come on.
It is not going to be a showroom for glass.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I mean, I believe that if it is a data center, you can pump the ocean to keep it cool. There's a lot of things that you can do. Absolutely. I don't know what it's going to be, but data center to me makes a whole lot more sense than any kind of showroom. Who builds a showroom out of storage cars,
While we're waiting for Nate to come back, anybody else want to weigh in? Speculation, Bruce?
Oh, the terminology of it would be to barge in, and no, I've heard both the stories, and I don't have a clue. I agree. There's no way this is going to be a showroom, but I think it has to do with part of Google's core work, and that might lend itself to be some type of a data center thing.
Maybe it's just going to be a party pad, so they can have one like in multiple places around the country, so they can entertain.
Well, here's the
guests.
problem with that is, there was a report shortly after when we heard there was data center and all that. There's this report that you can't dock something, at least in San Francisco, you can't dock something that you could have built on land. They consider that like, I forget the exact terminology. It's basically like barge trolling, I guess is the best way to put it. So you can't build something that's a barge or whatever that you could have built on land and then park it in the bay. You can't do that. So I don't really understand what's going on with this thing.
It's one of those crazy California laws.
Yeah, there's a lot of those.
We need an acronym for that. Laws found only in California. Anybody else want to predict? Because I'm trying to get a nice show reel that I can troll you guys later with your wrong predictions. Anybody want to tell us what this is about?
Yeah, these are going to be frat houses for some of the high-tech schools. Like one of them's going to be at MIT. It's going to be in Boston Harbor. That's why they got it up there in the Northeast. And then the one on the West Coast, I think, will probably be for maybe Cal Poly Tech. You know.
The answer.
So they're going to be tech frat houses. That's what they're going to be.
Okay, you're all wrong. What this is that they realized, unlike healthcare.gov, they realized late in the game that they needed to regroup for next year. And so what these are TV studios for the next YouTube Music Awards. And they're going to have them on multiple coasts so that, just like Live Aid, so they can go from place to place during the broadcast for the next YouTube Music Awards. I think that's what these are.
I think it's, considering the nature of them, I have a feeling, my guess is it's going to be some sort of data center for Project Loon.
That would make sense.
If I might postulate one, it could be a floating Gitmo for all the NSA agents that hacked into Google servers.
Bingo.
Alan, first.
There's merit to that one. Actually, my guess is similar. I think that this is a data center specifically for YouTube so that they can have people store copyrighted videos outside of any copyright zone. So you've heard of pirate radio ships? This is going to be a pirate YouTube ship.
That would be awesome.
I remember when I was in London, England, as a kid, like 17, 18 years old in the 80s, when I was young, tall, and skinny, like Alan and Nate.
There's pirate radio for you.
Yeah, Laser 558. I listened to it, and it's legend in the pirate radio era. So maybe that's what YouTube's up to, Google, or whatever the hell they're doing. Okay, so I guess we're at our recommended apps of the week. And
really? But it's not like midnight yet.
I know. I don't know what's up. So, Alan, I think you had one, and you want to talk about it. And if you do, then I can pull it up and screen share the app in the Play Store and go through the picks while you're talking about it if you want.
Sure. Except it's actually going to be a little bit tricky, but I'm going to mention this anyway. My recommended app of the week is I will go back to my tradition of recommending widgets, and specifically this is a widget attached to the new Google Plus app. Mind you, I'm not recommending the Google Plus app itself. It stinks. It has so many problems with it that it really barely is worth mentioning as an app at all. But it has a really, really good widget attached to it, and that widget is the Google Plus Location widget. So what you can do with this new widget is you'll be able to put a widget on one of your home screens, set which person or circle you wish to follow, and it will show you a map right on your home screen where the people you're tracking are at any given moment. So this is the Google Plus Location widget.
And these people have to have location sharing on, correct, Alan?
Of course. I mean, this absolutely respects the location privacy settings. You need to be following them. They need to be willing to share it with you. So all of the privacy and security that we've come to expect with Google Plus is built in and part of it. But this is a really neat feature that lets you follow them if they're willing to give you that permission.
I think that's pretty cool.
And do so very easily and very quickly. Sorry, go ahead, Nate.
I said I think that's pretty cool for families.
It is awesome for families.
Okay, cool. So this is the I've got a screen share here of the from CNET. There's an article on it. Add a location widget for Google Plus contacts. Is that it? No.
That's it.
That's it. Okay, that's from October 31, 13. Yep. Okay, cool. All right, so we'll find the link for that. So let's see who's Bruce. Did you have a recommended app of the week?
No, I do not tonight.
All right.
First time.
So Duke, do you have one?
I do, Dan. My app this week is, let me get my product cam over here. the Amazon App Store app. And yeah, there we go. The Amazon App Store app is a lot of people, I'm learning, aren't aware of this. And you can go to Amazon, click on the App Store. You'll have to feed it your phone number, or if you've got a tablet, you can do it by email. It will send you a link to the Amazon store, and you can log on. Now, here's the deal. The Amazon App Store is not a good experience. It is not the Google Play Store. However, they do have a daily free app. You will notice by my screen, today's free app is bee sales, which I'm guessing sounds a lot like, I don't know, maybe Bejeweled or something like that. Anyway, there have been at times some really nice apps. I got Cardio Trainer Pro on here. It was a $10 app. It was free. I've gotten some other really nice apps. For the most part, the games are not a good experience, but hey, it is a Play Store that is, or it's a store, I should say, that is available for Android. Check it out, man. It's they've got some good apps every now and then. I would recommend that you go through the Play Store even for your purchased apps. There's no auto update feature in the Amazon app, but yeah, it's a free app a day. And you can occasionally, I know, I'll just say this, there was a tethering app that wasn't available for me in the Play Store through, my carrier, AT&T, and guess what? It was at the Amazon App Store, and I did purchase it there, and I've used it a few times over the last 2 or 3 years, so there are some advantages there.
Yeah, three things just to emphasize. One, there are some apps that are banned by your carrier, like a tethering app, and they're not available in the Play Store. And then to get this app, you have to go to Amazon. You can't find the app in the Play Store because Google bounces back at them. So, they don't make it available. And then the third thing is when you get those free apps, even if you're iffy on the fence, because some of them are good and some are crap, but you can get them, and technically you're buying them, but for free. So if you just download it to a device, even if you don't have time to mess with it, you can then delete it from the device, and you still own it, right? So you can download it later or put it on a different device. It's just like if you buy something in the Play Store, you can put it on your phone and your tablet, etc., and you can get a new phone or delete it and then download it again. So. Excuse me. If you're iffy on the fence, you can go ahead and download it and get it for free, and then you can always, check it out later. But that is a good one. Okay, Nate, I'm going to go to you in a second, but let me do mine. And I just bought a NEX7 camera, which I love. It's right here. And oh my God, this thing is all that and a bag of chips. So I have a video. If you look on my YouTube channel, you'll see we did a video with, I did one with Craig Shipp where he went through some settings on this thing. So I'm a journalist, right? So I'm looking, and I do different things, but I'm always interested in teleprompter technology because I'm ADHD and I say, a million times a minute. So, but I can read a script like nobody's business as an old radio guy. So I bought this, thing, and I was looking for a teleprompter, and I've recommended a different one before, and it's pretty good because the one I recommended before, and I'll link to it. I'll find it and link to it in the show notes later in the post if you're watching this after the fact. But I wanted to just show you there's two. If you go to B&H, and I'll screen share here, there's two teleprompters I'm looking for. So I have one app that I'm recommending and two physical products that I'm thinking about, right? One here is this Listec. This is $200, and this is a teleprompter that actually grips onto your lens, and it works with your phone. It works with an Android phone or an iPhone, and it's small, but you got the mirror there, and then you put your phone right in there. This is $200, and they have a free app you can get, which I'm going to tell you about in a minute. So this is one I'm looking at. Another one I'm looking at is very innovative. This is called the Prompt Box, and this sucker actually I guess it mounts under your camera, and guys in the panel, you can't see what I'm doing, what I'm sharing on the YouTube video. But the Prompt Box, it'll hold a Nexus 7, or it'll hold an iPad Mini, and you put it on the top. So that's interesting because normally the stuff's at the bottom, but you just sort of open this case here, and you put it on the top, and then it you can look at the text, and this looks a little bit heavier. This is made in America. It's solid metal, and it's got some pretty good reviews. And on B&H, which appears to be the only seller, it's not on Amazon. They've got a really good demo video from some guy who shows it, and he's a professional teleprompter company. And that's what they do. So I'm thinking about one of these two things, but the actual app that I was looking at is called Promptware Plus, and it's by Listec, Listec, Teleprompters. And I tried it. I haven't extensively used it yet, but you can. What I like about it is you can email a script. You can you can edit a script and store it in Dropbox and then import it. And then it's just interesting. So I'm always looking for a new teleprompter thing for if you're in the field and you want something to be accessible in the cloud, so you can edit it on your phone. And but this one has a really, I could tell you one thing that from looking at the other one and this one has a really smooth, non-jagged display as it scrolls up. It's really smooth and nice. So my recommended app is free, and it's called Promptware Plus. And then if you guys have any suggestions for other either Nexus 7 or phone prompters, because with my camera, of course, the camera is very small, and when you open it wide open, you're right up on it. If you're doing a talking head shoot somewhere, it might be, pretty close to you. So literally a reflection of your phone would work fine when it's, 3 or 4 feet away from you, even if you're, have old eyes like I do and Alan does. So that's my recommended app of the week. Nate, you got one?
I do. Let me do a screen share real quick.
While he's doing that, I'm trying to figure out what my eyes are old or whatever.
I'll explain that. I've become my dad. I remember I used to make fun of him because when we were at a restaurant, he would hold the menu out with his arm, right? And then finally, to see it, he would hold the menu out, way out. And then finally, he reached an age where he ran out of arm, and he couldn't hold it far enough out. And so then he had to get the reading glasses just to magnify.
That's great, but I don't have reading glasses, Dan, and I've had these glasses since I was about 10 years old.
I was just trolling you.
So my
So that was a failure. Go ahead, Nate.
All right,
my
Nate.
recommended app to rebuff what Dan said is Tether It, which is an app that you can download, and it will create tethering for your phone. You don't have to root, and you don't have to pay for anything with your carrier. The reason I am suggesting this app is A, I know it works well, and B, this is the same developer that created Groove IP, which you may know is kind of voice over IP calling, that Google is basically shutting down with their changes to Google Voice. So I know these guys really well, and I know that their apps work really well. So Tether It, it works, it's good, and you should absolutely spend the $3 to buy it. It's on a discount right now. It's usually $5.99, but it is that good, and it is worth it.
Does it create a Wi-Fi or
Bluetooth
Bluetooth connection?
There is a free version that I link to as well.
What does it create? Is it Wi-Fi or Bluetooth?
I'm sorry?
Is it Wi-Fi or Bluetooth?
It creates a Wi-Fi connection.
Because I know, okay, that's cool, because I bought one, I forget what it was.
It's Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, or USB tethering. Let me clarify that.
Okay, because I bought one.
And how does this compare to something like Foxfi?
Similarly.
Except Foxfi requires Bluetooth, I think.
No.
Which
No,
on
it doesn't.
Jelly Bean-
No.
No.
I thought after Jelly Bean.
So
I thought
No.
Foxfi was Bluetooth after Jelly Bean. That if you were pre-Jelly Bean, because I
No,
had Foxfi. and
I used it today over Wi-Fi. It does not require Bluetooth.
Okay. So I'm wrong again, and Alan would be the other thing.
Yeah, I'm using Foxfi and PDA Net Plus, which is Foxfi is now owned by PDA Net. Both of them are Wi-Fi tethering. I think PDA Net does give you a Bluetooth option. I don't recall Foxfi. Yeah, Foxfi does give you a Bluetooth option. You can tether by Bluetooth.
It's an option, but it's not the only option.
No, that's right. That's what I said. It's an option, but it's a Wi-Fi tether.
Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, or USB. You have 3 options with Foxfi.
Yeah. So we all agree, Dan's wrong.
Right.
Dan's always wrong.
So somehow I'll figure out a way that I was right because I have the final edit on the comments in the post. Okay, so we're done, right? Everyone got their app in?
Yep.
Even
Yeah.
Alan is driving. Is that illegal? I'm sure California will ban that at some point. You can't recommend an app while driving a vehicle unless it's hands-free.
Well, I've been sitting here waiting at my destination for this show to end already, so.
Okay, well, I appreciate your diligence and patience, etc. And to the viewers, I would say, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you're listening to us on SoundCloud, we had fun tonight. I tested doing our live stream test, streaming it, except apparently I screwed something up, and we had audio issues in the beginning, which I've apparently fixed because you were griping less. I wish we got to figure out what's wrong with the comment tracker because my comments died like 45 minutes ago, and we had like 11 viewers on the live. Most people, I mean, it's a 10-to-1 ratio or better afterward. But anyway, thank you very much. This was fun. And please tune in. We're Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific. We do another show called Google Plus Week, which is every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, USA time. And that's fun, too. And longer, and Alan is louder, if you can imagine, on that show than he is on this show. So thank you again, and thanks to the panel. And until we meet again, have a wonderful, epic, awesome, spectacular Android week. Talk to you later.